Go ahead, fire away.
What's it like having the guys back in the building?
It's good. It's good energy. Good to see those guys. We haven't seen them for a couple months, a lot of them. Some of them have been kind of, in and out, lifting and stuff, but good crew. And of course, it's voluntary right now, so not everybody's obligated to be here, but it's been good energy so far.
You expect Jessie Bates to be a part of Voluntary?
We just take it day to day. It's all voluntary. Some guys have workout bonuses, so they're here. Other guys are here on their own, and some guys aren't. So we'll see how it goes.
Do you take qualms with anybody who decides to stay back if you feel like you've got a good feel on what they're like when they're not here?
Correct. Yeah. No qualms on that.
What if you're looking at two players at the same position, whether it's a draft or acquiring somebody, whatever that means? One guy's better skills, one guy you feel is more compatible with the way you like to run the team. Can you talk a little bit about what goes into making that decision and which way you might lean generally?
So you're saying maybe somebody more skilled as opposed to somebody who's a better fit scheme-wise? I mean, we spent a lot of time.
Temperament-wise,
Yeah.
The chemistry and the culture.
Yeah, I think that's something we really weigh in. We want talent plus football character, and so we try to find guys that have the best combination of both. And of course, sometimes you get guys in the building, you get a better feel for them, but I think that's something we've taken a lot of pride in. Finding guys that fit in our locker room, guys that their teammates like being around and the coaches like being around, and vice versa. And so I think that's a part of the reason we've been successful is finding the guys that have the right football character, and the process is important to them, and they love the grind of it, and they're also talented. We got a lot of really good football players on this team too. So I think Duke and his staff have done a really good job of finding that right combination of both.
So are you going to lean one way or the other?
I think, without specific examples, it's tough. It's sometimes when you watch a really good talent, it's easy in your mind to say, okay, well, maybe this, some of the character stuff, we can get it out of them, because they're so talented. So I think that's human nature, is you're always trying to find the upside when you watch the tape and you fall in love with somebody. And so, to say that doesn't happen from time to time would be untruthful probably.
Well, because so many coaches, probably more in college than in the pros, will tell you how important character is. Talent trumps character in those situations about 100% of the time, don't you think?
No, I think the character is what's carried us to this point also, you could have a lot of talented individuals in your locker room that maybe don't love football. They're talented, so they play because they're supposed to, and it's gotten them this far. But we want guys that love football, love the process, love being around their teammates, and so that matters to us. And I think that, again, we've got a lot of those types of guys in our locker room.
Maybe hard to speak to the rest of the league, but do you feel like the attitude on that character and how much that can carry a team has changed or evolved in recent years, or is there a marketing deficiency in that you guys feel like you're exploiting?
I think that's hard for me to say, and I can just speak to what we are about and what we value, and again, we feel like it served us well. We have to continue to build on the momentum that we had last year. Obviously, it's just been 1 year for us, but we felt like it was a work in progress leading up to that point where we spoke it in here. We could see it coming, and it's worked out for us, but we got to continue to build off of that.
How hard is that to find? Because obviously you're looking for a certain level of character.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, they do have to be talented like you.
Yeah, that's what our scouts do a really good job of. They spend so much time, dating back to years previous when they go through schools and they hear about some of the younger players, and then they go back in training camp, they go back during the season. And so when we're sitting in those draft meetings in the springtime, that's almost half of their report. Obviously, they've done the work on the film study and how they think the players translate to our schemes. But at the same time, they're giving you the background on the player and how they think they'll fit in our building. And so that's what they do a ton of work on. And then you get a chance to utilize the coaches on top of that. To go out there in the spring and go to the pro days and do the Zooms. And so now you've got multiple opinions of scouts and coaches who both interact with these players. And come April, we try to fit it in with Duke on, okay, well, who fits? We've evaluated 500 players or whatever it is. Who are the guys that we think will be good Bengals? And we spend a lot of time and effort trying to finalize that.
Zach, is that because character matters because you have to be able to trust them
in critical situations.
There's no question, and you just have to trust that. At times they care more about their teammates and their coaches than they care about their own success. And once you can find the guys who love to communicate, they love that part of the game, they love the details of studying an opponent, that stuff comes from the guys who have good football character and love the process. Again, there's plenty of talented players who have had tremendous careers, don't get me wrong, that maybe didn't love that part of it, that have had great careers, but we just place a lot of value on guys who love that part of the process, and it's served us well. And that's a model that we continue to follow.
Just to be clear, character, I guess in the way that you're describing it, seems to be a synonym for work ethic. Is that probably a fair statement?
That's part of it, absolutely.
What else goes, just to get a definition of what is the definition of character in your mind?
The football character, guys that love the walkthrough. They love hearing what the game is going to be and asking questions. They love helping their teammates through something maybe their teammates have struggled to understand. They love pushing their teammates and holding that standard high. So someone's late and, hey, that's not good enough. It doesn't have to come from the coaches. It can come from the players because they value that and they understand in order to be successful, they're going to have to pull people along with them. So, there's an infinite amount of things I can use to describe football character from a coaching standpoint because there's a lot of things that maybe aren't hitting my brain right now that come up on a daily basis that we place a lot of value on. Being consistent day to day. I know when Drew Sample or Joe Burrow or Tyler Boyd, when they walk in the building every day, I know what we're getting before I even see their face that morning. They're consistent from day to day. They're the same person. You know what to expect. You don't have to ride that roller coaster with them to okay, what are we going to get out of Joe Burrow this Wednesday? What type of Joe Burrow is going to show up today? We already know those guys and how they're going to show up, and that's what makes this team so fun to be around is because it's such a consistent group from top to bottom every single day that they're in the building.
Does it show itself this time of year when you have the voluntary, things, and then the guys are going to show up? In your mind, you have an idea of, okay, this guy is going to show up every day no matter what because of the football character I know he has, and then you're not disappointed?
No, not as much. Not as much. Of course, we'd prefer everybody's here, but it's voluntary. Some guys right now, before we get on the field stuff, they've got their own workouts they're doing. And part of it is because we ended so late in February that they just kind of got into their routine in the last month and a half. And so there's a couple guys that don't have workout bonuses and that just wanted to continue on with that routine. And then once we get on the field, they show up. And so that's just part of it, and that's again, you can put the football character two different ways there. They've got a routine. They love working out. They don't want to deviate from that until we're actually on the field throwing footballs around and doing drills and stuff like that. So there's probably a couple guys that fit that mold where they've got a good thing going and they want to continue that for another 2 weeks.
Do you have to perpetually reestablish year after year, given the turnover in the NFL, this character, this chemistry, or does there come a point when it becomes for lack of a better term, the Bengals way, you know what I mean?
I think there's a combination. I don't ever want to take it for granted that it's something that we have. So you want to hit the reset button with what's important as part of our Bengals culture. So when our rookies show up here in 2 weeks, you begin to start that process again of here's the values that are important to us. Here's what we believe has gotten us to this point. It's going to continue to carry us on. And so yes, we think that the more that the guys are around what we want to be about, it becomes ingrained in them. They're here for a reason, obviously, but you can't take it for granted every single year, and there's a lot of things that we have to restart.
It's not really been anything that's evolved. You hammered home culture and character since the first time you sat in that chair. Mm-hmm. Where does that come from? From getting burned by guys that didn't have that in the past, or mentors kind of drilled that in?
I think, guys that I've worked for over the course of time, I think back to Mike Shervin, Joe Philbin, all those guys cared about that kind of stuff. I think one of the most thorough things I saw was just Sean in L.A., and just the way that it's almost a new age of doing things, the way that he did his walkthroughs and the way that we traveled. And there was just a lot of things that were a little bit new to me that I saw that the players really appreciated. And the type of character that he'd brought into that building and the wins that we had there, and they still have, obviously. So that was the first. I shouldn't say that's the first because I've been around it so much with those guys I mentioned. Then over time, you just try to sort out the way that you think it should be done. And we've got a lot of people in the building that believe the same thing, and it's worked out well for us.
Coach, do you think the trend is gonna need to shrink this stuff that, you know, last couple of years it's kind of gone to, you know, less is more. How do you see it? You think,
In terms of the offseason, you're saying?
yeah, it's the,
You know, I'm very comfortable with the 9 weeks. The only reason we shaved it, it's our Super Bowl routine that we hope to continue many, many more times, just because the season's gotten so long. And our coaches, we wanted them focused on helping the scouts through the scouting process and not having to worry about our players in the building at the same time, because our time had been cut a little short playing through mid-February. But again, hopefully it doesn't ever happen, but if times your season's not as long, then we would fully take advantage of the 9-week program that's given to us.
you mentioned McVay. I just want to follow. You mentioned McVay and what he did there, and kind of really kind of keeping guys healthy through the grind. Is there anything that you saw in this season that made you want to even tweak things even more as far as keeping these guys fresh?
There will always be tweaks, but I think that I really liked the process that we followed. Training camp, you know, that's a process we're really going through now, is reviewing our notes from last year to see if there was anything that we missed from an injury standpoint that we can do a better job of, and there will be tweaks that will be unnoticeable to most people. You all practice every day, and you wouldn't even really notice the structure being any different. But there's just a couple things where maybe we shave a couple minutes off of a period that we felt like went too long, and maybe caused one soft tissue injury. But overall, I think that our strength staff and our training staff has done a really good job of keeping these players healthy. Our players are really mature that way, of keeping their cells healthy, because there's a whole process they have to go through pre and post practice to make sure they're ready for the next day. And you know, so I believe in the process that we followed, and nothing more than a couple tweaks that I think will really help us.
Since we're on the discussion of character and kind of what y'all are looking for, how do you guys square when you have prospects who have red flags off the field in the evaluation process, and square that with the football character that you guys are wanting to have in the locker room?
Yeah, we're looking for guys that fit what we want in the locker room, and so we spend a lot of time and effort doing that.
But how do you square it when it seems like one may be at odds with the other when you're going through that evaluation process?
We talk through it as much as we can.
One more question?
Zach, just does this offseason feel different, just energy and momentum coming off that Super Bowl run? You talked about you guys were playing for a long time, practicing for a long time. When you get the guys back in the building, does it feel different than years past just coming off that run?
It's a very close team, you know, and it only ended, you know, just a little over 2 months ago, so it doesn't feel like you've been apart that long. But again, I just think the closeness of this team really stands out. A lot of the players are back. I think we have 5 new players that are in the building, you know, through free agency. The 3 offensive linemen, the tight end, and I'm missing 2 tight ends, really, you know, and so it's a lot of the same guys. Those fit exactly what we've been talking about. They've been here, you know, for a number of weeks, popping in and doing their workouts and things like that. So it's just a really exciting group to be around, and I can't wait to get these rookies in the building here in 2 weeks. So a lot of those new faces as well, guys that we're really high on. So again, it's from the closest standpoint, it's been really impressive. We're only in really a day and a half right now of the guys being back around, but so far so good.